Hello everybody and welcome to this, the final event of LGBTQ History Month in Bradford programme, and I'm really delighted to have this simply amazing guest, a national treasure, an absolute veteran, quality actress of stage and screen, and somebody who I think we can all agree we really love to see when she's on her chat shows and anything else she's on. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome the absolute legend that is Miriam Margolyes to Bradford. Welcome, Miriam. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and I'm so pleased to be with you. Thank you for asking me.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, just firstly, Miriam, we'll cover a lot of stuff today, and I know there's been lots of interest across the north of England for this interview. So just first of all, how have you been finding lockdown over the last year, and how have you been coping?
Well, like everybody else, I think it's fucking shit, you know. I can't stand it. I'm a social person. I need a hug. I love to see my friends and talk and just to be with people. It's very important, and we can't. And I do keep the rules because I'm law-abiding and I'm frightened. I don't want to get sick because I would die. I've got asthma. I'm nearly 80, so I wouldn't last 2 minutes. And therefore, I do keep the rules, but I don't like it. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, I think that sense of isolation, I think, you know, we're in the UK in the third lockdown now, and I think a lot of people have expressed the sentiments you have, and just sort of on that, we're in the third lockdown, and there's lots of debates over what has and hasn't happened from a government perspective. How do you think the government have handled this whole situation, the pandemic, in the last year?
Like a shower of twats. I mean, it's appalling. Every single directive has been turned around. There have been something like 64 instructions coming out every week and then being countermanded. There's no clarity, and I think there's no honesty. There's corruption. Why have certain firms been given the contracts for masks and so on, who happen to be friends of the Minister of Health? It's a very shady outfit, and the deaths that there have been, I think, almost bigger than anywhere else in Europe, is shameful, and I hold Boris Johnson personally responsible. He took us into the lockdown too late. He took us out too quickly. And apart from the good NHS rollout of the vaccine, this has been a catastrophic administration.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would say there should be a national public inquiry following, you know, us coming out. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I think there will be. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
No, there has to be. And I think it will be properly conducted. I hope so. And the people who are responsible for the mess we're in have to stand up and be counted. It is disgraceful.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the sort of true heroes there in your explanation, like the NHS workers and all the other frontline key workers. And one of my good friends, Sandra, she's been working in the ICU units in the local hospital in Yorkshire, and she's saying just the sheer devastation. You know, she's talking about working 15, 16-hour shifts, seeing people die without the family there. Do you know what I mean? That's it's just a massive credit at what I'm basically trying to say to those amazing NHS workers. Would you agree with that?
With all my heart, I would. I think what they've had to go through, and the courage and tenacity and conscientiousness and professionalism that they have shown is quite remarkable. And I was, you know, one of the people, like a lot of us, who went out of our doors on Thursday nights and clapped. And I mean that I did it with all my, but I think that they need money more than clapping. Yeah. I think that the way that they're being treated is just not acceptable. people have got to get angrier
Yeah.
and more strident to support those workers, because they're just so exhausted. They can hardly do their jobs, never mind fight for more money.
Yeah.
No, I think it's truly shocking.
No, thank you for that. And sort of, we're in a very sort of special month. You know, here in Bradford, we've held nearly 300 events for LGBTQ History Month.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so we don't mess about in Bradford, Miriam, to be honest with you.
I know,
So.
I know.
That's a good accent, that. You could play me mum probably if my mum ever had a film made about her life. So.
Mum, more like.
So when we ran this event and this month, we're very clear that visibility for the LGBTQ plus community is really important, and I think why a lot of people in the community and wider society admire you is because you are so visible. You're out there, you're very sure of yourself as a strong, powerful lesbian woman. So how important do you think holding events like History Month is, and how important is visibility in the fight for equality?
Unfortunately, it is a fight, isn't it? And I've seen in my lifetime so much change for the better. And I'm still sad to think that we have to fight. I want it to be easier. I don't want it to have to be a fight. But as long as it is, we need these kind of events to give people courage and confidence and the knowledge that there are others standing alongside them. And that's why I talk about being a lesbian, because I think it helps people. I'm not truthfully particularly interested in being a lesbian. I just am. You know, that's who I am. And life has given me the luck of being a lesbian. I think it's lovely being a lesbian. I wouldn't want to be anything else. But it's easier for me in the business I'm in, where there's lots of gay folk and we all mix in and get on, and theatre is a broad church. But for a lot of people working in less outward-looking places, it's hard and people are frightened. I mean, there is this kind of macho thing, isn't there, that blokes have got to be very, very butch and tough, and if you're a gay man, you're somehow less of a man, and that is just bollocks. I don't accept that, of course. Yeah. And I just want it to be easier for gay people and anybody who feels they don't fit in to fit in, because we are part of society and we've got to be made to feel confident and comfortable. I want people to feel comfortable. And that's what I try to do in the way I talk and put myself forward. I'm not a particularly good advertisement for lesbians, actually. But, you know, I am who I am, and that's it. You've got to take it.
And I think that's quite powerful, though, to be honest with you, because you sharing your story and you know, standing up there and saying, this is who I am, that's quite a radical political act, actually. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people will take heart from that. So sort of when you were growing up, were you sort of very aware of your identity sort of growing up, or was it a struggle, or was there a big reveal, if you like, and how did you come to terms with it relatively quickly, would you say?
I don't think it's ever been a struggle, because I've always been this sort of character, you know. I've always been outspoken and showy-offy. I've always been like that. So the fact that I was a lesbian was just another adjective, along with being fat and Jewish and left-handed and a snob and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just goes with the territory.
Yeah.
So I never had a difficulty about it. difficult with my parents because I loved them so much and they loved me. And the last thing they wanted was a lesbian daughter. They just found that almost tolerable. And it caused them pain. And that's why I often say to people, don't tell people who can't take it, because it's not fair. It's your life and you get on with it.
Yeah.
But don't insist that everybody else has to take part in it with you. Now, a lot of people don't agree with me about that, especially gay people. And my friend Ian McKellen is completely of the opposite opinion. And that's fine. That's his opinion. But I think you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Be confident in your own self, but don't necessarily push your sexuality across people who can't cope with it. It's your sexuality. It's not theirs.
So is that something about then, like all these, for example, these wider programme events in Bradford, do you, and other places across the world, and, you know, Stonewall's doing amazing things, a lot of people are doing amazing things. So actually, is the hope that through programmes of education and agitations and programmes like this, people hearing stories like yours, that actually that might bring wider acceptance in society? Do you think that's a part of it as well?
I do, yes. I think I think that people who are prejudiced against gays and lesbians and black people and people who are not well or whatever it is, poor, if you've got a prejudice, it's because you're ignorant. You don't know. You don't see them as human beings like you. And that's what I want. I want everybody to realize that the other person is just like them. Has the same dreams and fears and longings, and be treated like a human being. And that's all we can ask for. I don't want to be treated specially because I'm a lesbian. I don't want doors opening for me. I just want people to treat me like a human being, as they would anyone else. Absolutely. In fact, I insist on that.
And in light of that and in that spirit, so talking about your amazing, illustrious career, actually, on stage and screen, how did you, obviously some people will know a lot about your different roles you've played over the years, but how did you get into the world of theatre and on the telly and in films? Was it something you always wanted to do, or did it happen by accident?
I think that I was always a show-off. I think it's a temperamental thing. Some people are performers and some people are audience members, and I was a performer.
Right.
From my earliest days, I was a performer. And I don't know that I always wanted to be an actress, but I became one in the end. That's what happened. And it was at school and at university that I started really doing it, and then I just went on with it. I didn't go to a drama school because by the time I left Cambridge I was already 22 and I didn't want to have to go into another couple of years of training. I just wanted to get on with it. In fact, I didn't get on with it because I couldn't get a job. So I sold encyclopedias and, you know, did odd jobs. And eventually I got into radio, and that started me off.
And what was your first big break then in radio? Was it a particular show you did, or was it did you have to sort of build up your trade, if you like, or was there one particular programme what made you famous, would you say?
It's been a very long, rather straggly career. I wouldn't say there wasn't anything in radio that made me famous, because radio doesn't make you famous. It's only really telly and films that make you famous. And it took a very, very long time. When you say very generously that I've had an illustrious career, it doesn't feel like that from where I am. I don't see it as an illustrious career. I've kept going, And I think it's pretty good that I'm still working, and I'll be 80 in 2 or 3 months in May. So, you know, that's not bad. It's been a long career. That's what I would say.
No, that's amazing, and you don't look 80, and trust me, people who know me realise I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. I think you do look amazing. So, in terms of for your 80th coming up, I know we're in sort of, there we go, darling, yeah. Coming up for your sort of 80th, I know we're sort of in a lockdown still, but have you got any sort of plans about what you want to do or anything like that? Are you going to have some wild celebration? Or?
Darling, you know, in COVID, you can't make plans. None of us can make plans.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to be because we don't know how this vicious virus is going to run.
Yeah.
I hope that the vaccines will have controlled it and, you know, we'll be able to take up life again. Not in the same way. It'll never be the same again.
Yeah.
Because we'll always be frightened that something like this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. Sometimes I think I'd like to have a big party. And then other times I think, no, I don't want a big party. It's too much fuss.
Yeah.
I just want to see a few friends and have a curry, you know, or something like that.
But talking about curries, Miriam, I've got to say that in Bradford, we are known as the curry capital of Britain. We've won that title about 7 years in a row. So when maybe as part of your elongated 80th birthday celebrations, you can come to Bradford and we'll take you around numerous curry houses. You know, you'd be welcome.
Oh, that would be so wonderful.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely top favourite. I love curry. I just love it. I love the feeling of, you know, your eyes watering and then I love that feeling of your bum hurts in the morning when you have a shit and you get rid of it. It's all thrilling to me.
It's all part of the experience, isn't it? You know. So, but going back to your career, and obviously a lot of people will know that your amazing performance in The Age of Innocence in 1993, in which you won Best Supporting Actress, was like one of those things what sort of really marked your career in film. How was that experience in terms of working with Scorsese and that feeling when you won the BAFTA as well?
Oh, it was lovely. It was a wonderful experience and there were terrific people to work with. Sian Phillips was in it and Stuart Wilson and Richard E. Grant, who became a friend. I'm very fond of him. And Michelle Pfeiffer is a lovely, real person. And Dan Day-Lewis, whom I did not get to know, he's quite a distant kind of guy, but so focused and very nice to work with, but just involved in the being as good as he can be. Very, very interesting bloke. I didn't get on with Winona Ryder.
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I just thought that she was very involved with Daniel Day-Lewis. She wanted to go to bed with him, and she did, and that was all. She was just interested in him and not really in anybody else.
What was
so
it like
I didn't find her particularly interesting.
Yeah, so Scorsese is a director, because obviously us sort of mere members of the public, you know, we have perceptions of what the industry's like, and obviously a great director like Scorsese, what was he like as a director? What was he like as a person? And, you know, what did you sort of learn from his direction, I suppose?
He's a very tactful director. He comes up to you and he just speaks to you very quietly. Nobody else can hear what he's saying. He's very focused and very charming. He's a tremendously nice bloke. I really liked him. He loves to laugh. He's a great appreciator of people and talent. He's enormously knowledgeable about film and the history of film, about people's performances. He can quote scenes and shots to you in the way that we would quote a line in a play. He has absorbed so much film in his life. And I'm extremely fond of him, and I admire him enormously. And I was very touched one time. He was awarded a prize at something, and he asked me to go and get it for him because he was working and he couldn't. And I was thrilled. I was enormously touched and flattered. And I haven't worked for him again. I hope one day I will, but he's getting on a bit too, and so who knows. But it was a great experience. Oh, that sounds like the boiler has burst.
I hope it hasn't.
It wasn't the part. I think the boiler has burst, or something electrical. I'm not quite sure what. I'm sorry, but this is a live show.
Absolutely, these things happen.
But I'm focused on you. So whatever's going on in the electrics, I'm not going to worry about it till after this.
Brilliant.
But having won the BAFTA was really a huge thing in my career. I never expected it. I never thought for a minute that I would win an award. And I couldn't even believe it when I was nominated. But getting it was a huge thrill, and it still is. I keep it on my study mantelpiece. I'm not like Emma Thompson, who puts her Oscar in the loo. I think it's quite sensible of her because everybody goes in the loo, so everybody will see it. But it was a wonderful thing for me, and I'm very proud of it.
Amazing. So when you actually win, when you won the BAFTA, the cameras are on you and everything. Do you actually know you've won it before it's announced, or don't they tell you that?
No, you have no idea.
Right.
You hope, but I was sure that I wouldn't get it, because Maggie Smith was also nominated. At the same time for the same slot, the same Best Supporting Actress, and I was sure that she would get it.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
She didn't. I got it.
Congratulations. And talking about your other roles you've had in film, then you sort of attracted a whole new army of fans when you played the very sort of out there character in Professor Snape in the Harry Potter films, in 2 of the films, if I'm not mistaken. How was that as an experience? Because that must be about 10 years or so ago now,
Well, first of all, it's Professor Sprout.
Yeah.
Not Professor Snape. Professor Snape was the late, great Alan Rickman.
Did I say Snape then?
You did.
Apologies.
Apologies.
Apologies. Apologies.
And I'm Sprout.
Yeah.
I'm Sprout. Well, it was lovely to get the role. I'm not really into Harry Potter particularly, because I'm not into fantasy or science fiction. I like reality, and so it's not a film that I would go and see. But I was very glad to get it. And it's made me famous. That's true. I'm sure more people have seen me do that part than anything else I've ever done. So I should be grateful to it, and I am. But it wasn't a particularly interesting part. And it was a part that was very easy for me. I didn't have to stretch my acting muscles.
Yeah.
That was it.
So in terms of sort of film or when you produce a TV show, whatever it might be, are you an actor who will watch yourself back? Are you very self-critical, or are you an actor who won't really watch yourself back, sort of thing? Or
no, I won't watch myself.
yeah,
no,
right.
I've never. I don't look at anything I've done, which in some ways is a bit stupid because it means I won't learn from my mistakes. But the problem is that if I watch myself, I am so depressed, I am so miserable at what I've done. I only see the mistakes. I can't see anything good or achieved that I've done. And it's very undermining. And that's why I don't watch myself, because I'm very self-protective. I'm trying to keep steady, because acting is a frightening business. People are judging you, quite rightly, because they paid to see you. They have a right to judge you. But it's scary. You know, when you, I don't know, go into the office, you don't feel that people are judging you. They might like you or not like you. They might judge you quietly. But they don't judge you to your face like they do in the theatre.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point.
It's really frightening.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I'm really scared.
Wow.
That's the truth.
Well, that's quite interesting, because, like, say, you're a very confident woman. People see you as very powerful. So that's just a really interesting insight, actually, into how you sort of manage life in the industry, if you like. But another thing you've obviously done a lot of is sort of producing different programs in Australia and what have you. But one thing what really interested me, what I've rewatched again very recently, is the program you produced about 10 years or so ago, I think it was, around one of your loves in life, Mr. Charles Dickens. So, and you retraced his steps in America, didn't you, based on American notes, is that right?
Yes, it was a wonderful experience. And by the way, I'm not a producer. That's a very high up role. It's the producer that hires the actors, the directors, and everybody else. I think they're called a presenter.
Yeah.
I presented the program.
Yeah.
And the director, I had two directors, Christopher Swan and Richard Shaw. And Richard Shaw was really the producer. I think it was his idea. And I will forever be grateful to him, because it was an extraordinary experience. And I'd never done anything like that before. And it's a long time ago. It's 20 years ago that I did it. Wow. And it took 20 years for somebody else to say, oh, she's good at presenting programs. We'll get her to do something. So I don't know why it took everybody so long to see this.
Wow.
But that's why I say I've had a long career.
Yeah.
Because it took a long time for people to think I was any good.
So just tell us a little bit about that, about Dickens in America and your love for Dickens. Where did that come from, and why did you think it was important to say yes to Richard as the producer to tell the story of Dickens in America? Why is that so important?
I've always admired and felt absorbed by Charles Dickens. I think he's as good as Shakespeare. I put him right up there. And unfortunately, people don't read him much anymore. And if they had any sense, they would. Because he's got an extraordinary grasp of human nature in all its varieties, and a very strong sense of the injustice of the class system. Because he came from the lower middle class, which is the class which is the most oppressed, more than the working class even.
Mm.
And he was always trying to pull himself up into another class, and he made it.
Yeah.
He definitely did. But what started me on Dickens was Oliver Twist. I read him at school and I just thought he was fabulous. I loved the crims, all the criminals. They were amazing. And Fagin, the Jew. I was and am Jewish, and so to me, to read about this vile man who crawled along the pavement like a slug, it was an extraordinary depiction of my people, and I couldn't relate to it. I just thought, wow, how horrible. Why? And my interest was piqued, and I thought, I want to read everything this man's written, and I have. I've read not everything he's written, but I've read all the novels that he's written. And as I got older and read more and understood more, I realized what an amazing man he is, what an extraordinary, brilliant writer. And how he takes a section through England and shows it to us. The snobbery, the cruelty, the lustfulness, the greed. And it's still like that now.
Yeah, and it is. And we'll get onto that a little bit. But in terms of Dickens when he went to America, because what I learned through watching you in that 10-part documentary is that Dickens had his view of America was, before he went there, was almost this was like the land of the free, perhaps. He heard a lot about it. Then what happened when he went to America? What was his view after he'd spent those few months there?
Yes, well, it was he came back a disillusioned man. He says, not the America of my imagination. In those days, it was a very young country, and it was an exciting experiment in democracy. That's what everybody thought. And when he went there, he found it to be not like that. He found people to be greedy and suspicious, and he loathed slavery, absolutely loathed it. And it changed his view of America.
Yeah.
Now, 25 years later, he went back and saw it again and saw some of the friends that he'd made, because it's not all bad. It's like America now. You know, bits of it are a shit heap, and other bits of it are glorious. And we somehow have to deal with America because it runs us. America has colonized our imagination just as we colonized it. But going to America in Dickens' footsteps was a wonderful revelatory experience of seeing it as he had seen it, seeing what has become of it since then. And I found it very moving and exciting and thrilling. I can't believe it's 20 years ago.
Wow, that is amazing. So, and we chatted obviously before this about Dickens' time in terms of when he came to Bradford, and he came and did in 1854 a reading of the Christmas Carol at the then relatively new St George's Hall, a concert hall in Bradford, which is stunning. He talked of, you know, a hall full of 3,500 people, and how he really loved the experience. And obviously, he was obviously one of the most famous people in the country at that time. And this is a man who had I presume a lot of money, and he came to Bradford, and presumably he would have commanded quite a decent fee. But what we later found out is that actually he gave his fee for the performance he did in Bradford to a local education institution. Now, from the research you've done, was that a mark of the man that you've studied and loved so much? Does that surprise you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was absolutely what he was like. He was a benefactor. In America, for example, when he went to the Perkins School for the Blind, which is still there, He had a copy of The Old Curiosity Shop, which is one of his loveliest novels, done into a form of Braille. They didn't have Braille then, it hadn't been invented, but they had a sort of something like Braille. And it's a huge book. It's about, really high. And it cost him the equivalent of £25,000.
Wow.
In today's money. And he presented it to the school. And when I went to the school, they showed it to me.
That is amazing.
It's still there.
Wow.
And wherever he went, he would go to the workhouse, the asylum, and particularly the prison, because his parents had been in prison. And he always felt the taint of the jail in his life. He never forgot. He never forgot what he came from. He never forgot the poverty. And I think it's very important that people who are rich remember when they weren't. Well, he certainly did.
What do you think, looking at the state of the world now, when you refer to class inequalities that still exist today, what would Dickens make of the world today, the UK and the wider world, in terms of the inequality that exists?
He would be disgusted and ashamed of what England has become. I must come up to Bradford and find out why all the people turned away from the Labour Party and put the Tories in power and shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people would give you some very honest views, but what I'm also proud to say is, in one of my other roles, I'm also a socialist Labour councillor on Bradford Council, and I've got to say we do control the council in Bradford, so so there we go. But in terms of going back to you, Miriam, in terms of your life, you've experienced so much, you've done so much, but a little birdie tells me that you're in the process of writing your autobiography at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's a very scary business.
And why is that? Why is it scary?
It's partly scary because I can't remember anything. And it's also because if you tell the truth, you hurt somebody. So I have to decide. Do I tell the truth? Do I leave it out? Do I bend the truth if I'm going to hurt someone? It's something I have to think about. I haven't decided. At the moment, I'm just trying to pull those years together to find out what happened in my life that's been so long and full of travel and joy and friends and a lot of success and, like everybody, a lot of heartache and disappointment. So I have to discover myself in a way. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, that must be quite, like you say, if you've had quite a long career where you've moved to quite a lot of different jobs and, very, very busy, to sit back and reflect, that must be quite rewarding, but like you say, it might also challenge yourself in terms of some of your experiences in life, perhaps.
Oh, definitely. I feel very challenged.
Yeah. And is there, when can people expect it on the bookshelves, and when can they come and, buy that? Do you know release date as of yet?
I don't know when it'll be published. I've been told to try to be ready for October, because I suppose they want to put it on the Christmas market. So then, you do these book tours and get yourself on programs and talk about it. Whip up interest.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can come. Maybe that's your excuse for coming to Bradford. You get a release date. We come and maybe sell it on the stage of St George's Hall where Dickens performed. Then we'll take you out for a good old Bradford curry after, perhaps.
I'm coming for the curry, love. That's what I'm coming for.
No, that's brilliant. So, is there sort of looking back through your life? You mentioned Scorsese, you mentioned others. Are there any people like who have really sort of inspired your thinking or your work? You know, can you give us some scoops about what you might include in the autobiography or anything like that?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to tell you things that I'm going to put in my book,
Okay.
because otherwise, why the hell would you buy it? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my own counsel.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I don't know yet what I'm going to put in my book,
Yeah.
because it's a great sifting exercise. It's like having a big sieve and putting all your life experience into it and see what drips through. So I'm still working it out, and it's quite unnerving.
Right.
But I think it's good to be challenged. I think it's good to feel afraid sometimes. You know, we don't want to be so sure of ourselves. You say that I'm very, very confident. And yes, I suppose in some ways I am, because I know who I am. And I've lived long enough in this skin and looked at myself in mirrors as I go on stage, long enough to know what I'm like. But very often inside, I'm so scared and so frightened and unknowing. And I hope and I believe that makes me a better actress. Because if you know about everything all the time, you're boring. Those people who are sure of themselves, they put years on you.
Yeah, and I think that's true of a lot of things actually. It's like, because that proves you're bothered about your craft. You know, if there's that bit of vulnerability there, it's like, actually, am I going to be good enough? Do you know what I mean? It's like that self-reflection, I think, is so important, and I think that's perhaps why you are actually quite endearing to people, and why I called you a national treasure. And it's because I believe that is because you seem bothered about people, you speak truth to power all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why you've remained popular with the public in Britain. So, and I've got to say that because it's what I believe. So thank you for doing what you do.
That's very flattering. Of course I want to be liked. Of course I want people to think I'm a good actress and a nice person. I mean, that's only human. But I never want to put something forward that isn't true. I never want to do a phony thing, because I don't want to be phony. I've staked my life on telling the truth, and I hope I always will. And I think everybody should. I think my parents brought me up to behave myself. Now you can say, behave yourself. You're a disgrace. The language yes, that's all true. I'm guilty of having a potty mouth and talking a lot of nonsense often. But my heart is in the right place. And my parents said to me, always do the right thing.
Yeah.
And they knew what they meant, and I know what they meant, and you know what they meant. And you know, if you do something wrong, you know it. You know you've done something wrong. And I can truly say I have almost never knowingly done a wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't live with myself if I'd hurt somebody or lied or cheated or stolen. I just can't do that. And I'm glad. And it makes me smug. It makes me like myself. So I guess in that way, I am a bit overconfident. I know I'm a good person.
And I think that comes across. I do think that really comes across with you in terms of when you're doing your interviews on your chat shows or films or whatever. I think that truth really does come across. But in terms of going a little bit back to Bradford, you may have heard that Bradford is actually bidding to be UK City of Culture in 2025. Bradford, as you know, very radical place, very diverse place. And, you know, it's been led by a great group of people. You know, the public in Bradford, I think, really want this because we see the transformational effect it will have on our city, which sometimes isn't given the rightful headlines in the media, but we're a proud place. We have a bit of a DIY culture. We know we're radical. You know, the Independent Labour Party were formed here. You know, we've got loads of visionaries here. Just what would your view on Bradford being awarded UK City of Culture? Would you be favourable of that?
Oh my goodness, yes. For one thing, I think it's great to have a place in the north being focused on, because everything is focused on the south. You know, the southeast has taken over England, and I don't think that's a good thing. And I know for myself how strong and interesting and brave and the people of the north are. My grandfather was born in Middlesbrough, and at the time when he was born in 1870, Middlesbrough was in Yorkshire. It isn't now. It's in sort of Durham or Tees or something like that. But when he was born, and he always talked about himself as a Yorkshireman and was very proud of it. A Yorkshire Jew. Yes, a Yorkshire Jew. Well, most of the Yorkshire Jews are Leeds people.
That's correct.
But because that was one of the biggest Jewish communities outside London, I think. But I'd be all in favour of it. I think we all need a shaking up in the south. We need to direct our vision and our attention to the north. So I would be thrilled if Bradford was a city of culture. It would open people's eyes.
Absolutely.
And they need opening.
Yeah. And trust me, Miriam, we've got a strong track record of opening people's eyes in many different ways in Bradford, so which we will show you when we get you to Bradford. And also this series, this has been one of 24 talks I think I've done with different people from community this month, and just want to sort of thank you for spending your time in doing this. And it'd be really helpful to me if you could just give a few lines asking people to tune into further rainbow conversations with me, and just to say you back it. That'd be really helpful. I've got an opportunity, so I might as well ask you if that's all right. So.
Yes, absolutely. Listen up, everybody. You've got to hear Richard Dunbar in Rainbow Conversations with other dykes like me, gay folk, and all the other things that we're called, queer and LBGTQ, and all the letters of the alphabet. Come and listen. You'll be very surprised, and you might have a laugh as well.
Absolutely. Well, I've certainly had a laugh today, and I've also been very sort of informed and, you know, endeared by you even more, Miriam. And I'm massively, massively grateful for your time. I know you probably get loads of requests, so we feel very honoured and grateful. And like I said, when your autobiography comes out, you know, we'll be pushing it here in Bradford, and you are more than welcome to join us. And thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciate it.
I've had a lovely time, because you know what? I've been talking about myself for an hour. What's not to love? Thank you very, very much for asking me.
No problems. All the best, Miriam, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.